Greetings, fellow Rock'em Sock'em robots! Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And welcome to the Kickback Cafe, the show where we kick back, relax, and talk about anything but Disney. That's right, folks. We're here to do a cartoon retrospective, BlueDragonFive. This subject brings me back. This subject brings me way back to the days when you and I first started working together, because the show we're going to be talking about, Megas XLR, has its roots in the very first podcast that we did together, which was Cartoon Fridays. We'll kind of be explaining the legacy of Megas XLR. I having just rewatched the show, or having watched the show for the first time over the past 2 days, I gotta say, I like a lot of elements of it. I'm not as over the moon, like this thing is perfect as Dragon seems to be, so it'll be an interesting discussion. I think it's a very good, very well-produced show. I think some of it hasn't aged as well as it could have, but we'll get into that whole discussion. But first, Dragon, do you know what other show is more ass-kicking than Pacific Rim?
What show?
It's not a show at all! It's the Movie Machine Podcast! That's right, folks. Who needs visual when you can just listen to the audio goodness of the Movie Machine Podcast? It's put together by our good friends at Super Academy and features Kyle Decker, Ben Lifson, Jacob Gulliver, and a host of others. This week, they talk about a hypothetical Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego movie, hyping on that 90s nostalgia. Oh, yeah. So check it out. HotChocolateMedia.net. By the way, Dragon, just for reference, Gulliver, not a fan of Suicide Squad. He says 0 through 3 when it comes to DC.
Well, that's disheartening. I didn't need to know that while we're trying to reflect on happy things.
Okay. Well, I digress, Dragon. Reflecting on happy times. So where did the show come from? What was its secret origins?
Well, folks, the origins are very simple. As Tiki said, it is reminiscent to kind of what our first little collaboration was. This has roots in Cartoon Network history, the cartoon, not Friday specifically, but Cartoon Summerfest. In this case, there's a thing, folks, for the kiddies out there who may not remember. There's this thing called Cartoon Summerfest. Essentially, folks, this is really a neat thing that this was not uncommon.
Isn't that basically the same place that we got the Christmas in July concept from?
Well, not exactly. I mean,
Christmas in July was another block of Cartoon Network stuff they would do in July, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it's not exactly the same thing. Point is, this was not an uncommon thing. Cartoon Summerfest essentially was kind of like, imagine a pilot expo. Basically, animation studio. Well, I mean, creators through animation studios, they would basically be able to showcase their work through a little, 15-minute, like 11 to 15-minute pilot. It would kind of showcase what their show would be about, and basically kind of the response from the audience, whether they would vote on it. I forget if it was voting or just kind of like test audiences. I think the audience had some sort of role in it, regardless.
It was voting.
Okay, voting.
It was definitely, I think maybe what happened was that they'd screen it for test audiences, and then from the test audiences, they'd pull like maybe a selection of 5 to 10 that would air throughout the summer, and they'd air those regularly. And then the viewing public would vote upon, I think maybe if I'm remembering correctly, Dragon, there were 2 rounds of voting. They'd vote to get it down to 5, and then there'd be a final voting where they'd vote within like 3 to 5 shows. And of course the winner would get a full-blown series pickup on Cartoon Network.
Or at least maybe like a test season, like a first season the work wasn't going for it. I assume they get like a full series, but they get,
Well, I mean, getting a season to work things out, I think that's...
I'm sorry, I mean taking the series, not like a full series. I'm sorry, I don't mean to split hairs. My point is...
I'm just saying, if someone offered you like, hey, Tiki, guess what? You get to develop a season of TV on Cartoon Network, I'd be like, well, shit, I'm the happiest Tiki on the internet.
Of course. My point is, Cartoon Network and all Nickelodeon did this too. They had like cartoons and all sorts of other stuff. They'd basically be able to showcase their work and get a response. But the fun thing about Cartoon Summerfest was that one specifically was like the audiences got the pick. It was in the hands of the viewers at home to kind of pick which shows we had picked up. I believe this was in 2002, if I'm remembering correctly. I could be wrong. Because I know it was Megas XLR.
It was 2004, but I could be wrong as well.
2000. I'm saying the contest, the pilots were in 2002, and basically once the shows got picked up, then they debuted in 2004.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I think that's how it goes. I could be wrong. Point is, there are 3 shows that were picked from Cartoon Summerfest. These 3 shows, of course, Megas XLR, hooray, along with 2 other notable ones. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Codename Kids Next Door.
Oh, yeah. Now, Dragon, I remember when Kids Next Door got picked up. I remember when Billy and Mandy got picked up. I do not remember Megas XLR. Like, for my money, I want to say that the summer that Megas XLR won was kind of like the pinpoint summer where I stopped watching Cartoon Network. Like, I think you could kind of put like a definitive date on that, because I, for the life of me, can't remember this pilot airing. I don't really remember. The show kind of just came and went kind of under the radar. I always assumed it was more of a Toonami thing than anything else, which I don't know. Like, I don't know if it ever aired anywhere else on Toonami. I know they air reruns of it on Toonami now, but I digress.
Well, what I know is that the show was debuted on it came on Toonami, but initially it came on Toonami, but I remember back when the pilot debuted along Cartoon Summerfest, because I remember seeing the short 15, essentially it's the pilot, just a slightly shortened version of the pilot we have.
Mm-hmm.
And because you can tell, like, they used a lot of the animation from the pilot in the first episode, and regardless, I do remember that because I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome, where's the rest of it? And basically, about approximately a year or so passes by before, oh my god, here we go. Here we go, full show of this on Toonami. And Toonami, I have very fond memories of Toonami. I'm going to put a pin in that. I'll take you through that a little bit more when we get to kind of our experiences further with the show. The point is that's the main origin of Megas XLR. It's part of the Cartoon Summerfest thing, and our 2 kind of series creators, they ran with it for a season, which got them a second season, which we're not going to be talking about this time, but in general, kind of met the fate of any good cartoon show, like Freakazoid or so on and so forth. It only lasted 2 seasons, because networks are fickle.
Yeah, that's right, folks. That's another good tie-in, Dragon, with the beginning of our career as co-hosts with each other, is the fact that Freakazoid is another show. I believe Freakazoid, if I remember correctly, did it last the exact same amount of episodes that this did? 26?
Maybe. I don't know, because Freakazoid had, like, the first season was in kind of the segmented shorts, but season 2, I believe, was 13.
Okay, fair enough. But
it was like in the third, yeah.
Regardless, it's like, we kind of started talking about the Cartoon Friday stuff. We started our conversations talking about Freakazoid, and now here we are, rounded the corner. We're talking about something that debuted on the Cartoon Summers, and also something much like Freakazoid that's beloved by a lot of people, but got canceled before its time. Got canceled 2 seasons in it, so.
Yeah, and a lot of this is, in the description for this video, you did list something that was very impressive you put in there. The show very much is a cult show. Like, there are a lot of diehard fans of this show.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so let's get into the show itself. For those who may not be familiar with the premise of Megas XLR, which I encourage you all, watch it. It's on YouTube. Just watch it anywhere you can.
It's literally on YouTube. All 26 episodes are there, folks. It's very convenient.
Just, check Wikipedia. It's going to get the order straight.
Sure.
But the point is, all of the episodes are around. They can be found, and it's all good stuff. But here's the premise for those who may not be familiar. And basically, after I lay out this awesome premise for you folks, essentially it's the first episode. Go check it out. Watch some episodes. Here we go. The premise is it's the 31st century, 3037. There's a war going on between the Earth and this alien race of kind of Cthulhu squid head guys called the Glorft. There's a resistance. Earth's resistance is led by one of our main characters, Kiva. Kiva, basically, she orchestrates this little plan to steal one of the Glorf's kind of new mechs and modify it to kind of fight the Glorf. It's called Megas. This Megas mech is taken from the Glorf. It's modified, and the idea is they use it to win the war using the Earth's time drive. They put a time drive in Megas, so basically they can big old space rift that will send them back in time. Ideally, the original plan, send them back 2 years, like before the war really got off the ground, so Kiva can pilot in the past, and she can stop and basically wipe out the Glorf, or stop the war from coming. Good plan. Unfortunately, when they're carrying out this plan, the Glorft attack in the middle of transporting Kiva to the ship and sending her back in time 2 years. It all goes haywire. Megas loses a head. That's very important. Megas's robot head.
The main character's head gets beheaded in like the first 5 minutes of the show.
So Megas's head gets blown off. Don't worry, folks. It's gonna be something much cooler put there. Anyways, Megas's head is blown off and is sent way further back in time to the 21st century. So again, starting in the 31st century, we go back to the 21st century, 2004, New Jersey. So, back in the past, in 2004, which back then, people were watching the show, that was the present. Megas is discovered in a junkyard by a video game-loving Jersey boy and mechanic named Coop, who restores it with more aesthetically pleasing touches, such as a sweet paint job, flames, 8 balls, and topped off, of course, by a sweet red muscle car for a head. Again, better replacement for I'm going to get into how much I love this design in a minute, folks.
Complete with a GameCube controller for the controls, which is amazing.
It's just decked out with various video game controls. Yes. And he and his pal Jamie have fun until Kiva returns from the future. Returns for Megas, and this leads to a battle with the returning Glorft as well, coming for Megas. Anyway, a big old battle happens. The good guys went out at the end of the day, and it ends with Kiva joining the gang, joining Coop and Jamie to train Coop so he can save the Earth from the Glorft and other threats that may arise in the meantime. Because she can't really get back home because the time drive, for lack of better words, was destroyed.
Okay, cool.
That's the premise.
All right, can I get into my experiences with this first? Because I assume that mine is going to be a lot shorter than yours.
By all means, go on. Enlighten the folks. What do you got?
Okay, well, like I said, folks, this is pretty much the pinpoint of when I stopped watching Cartoon Network. Not because of this show or anything, just because I was kind of in the, in the rebellious teenage phase where I'm like, oh, I don't like cartoons. I like action movies.
In essence, he was young and stupid.
Pretty much. I missed out on a lot of good shows that way. I missed out on Kids Next Door, Danny Phantom, things I'm still trying to go back and kind of fill the void with. But, yeah, like I said, folks, I definitely vividly remember Kids Next Door and Billy and Mandy getting picked up. I do not remember Megas XLR. Like, it just fell off the radar for me. Like, I didn't even really know. It just kind of came and gone, and by the time it got canceled, I had just actively stopped watching Cartoon Network. So, it's like I always hear about Megas XLR. I still think Toonami plays reruns of it from time to time. And I really do like the design of the main character, Coop. I like the fact that they have the traditional the gluttonous sidekick, the gluttonous comic relief, essentially be the main hero of the story, which I found very refreshing. And I like the designs. I like the animation style. I just never really got around to watching it. Dragon, you kind of suggested it out of the blue. You're kind of just like, hey, what about Megas XLR? And I'm like, all right, I just finished watching BoJack Horseman season 3. I'm looking for another 13 episode run of 22-minute cartoons to look into. So sure. So, folks, I watched the show basically in the past 48 hours. I checked it out in chunks of 4 episodes at a time. I kind of spaced it out as much as I could. I really like it a lot. I don't necessarily think it's a perfect show. I think it suffers some of the Saturday morning tropes where it's like, I don't necessarily think the villain's that great. I think the show kind of definitely falls into a formula. And don't get me wrong, I think the show makes fun of the formula in some very, very funny ways. Like one of my favorite gags of the whole season, the 5 minutes before the end of the episode button. And honestly, I find the humor of the show kind of dated, and that's really my main strike against it, especially with the Jamie character. I think a lot of what the Jamie character does would be a little bit frowned upon today. Like, I really do think, frankly, the Jamie character is a little bit of a misogynist.
Well, again, back then it was a little more acceptable. Well, now because now people have gotten worse over the years. Now to draw more attention to it. Now we've come into a more ideally politically correct society.
I understand that. It's just like looking at some of the stuff that the Jamie character in particular does within the context of this show. I'm like, okay, it makes sense that wasn't a big deal back then, but now I feel like you'd have to air that shit on Adult Swim to get away with it.
We still love Fonzie with open arms.
Of course. Okay, so what's your experience with it?
Oh, my experience. I have very fond Toonami memories. Some of my favorite shows, a lot of them anime based, premiered on Toonami, such as Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball Z.
But again, original Dragon Ball. Then there was a stubborn progression to the rest of the Dragon Ball series. But again, Dragon Ball was the initial. Point is, Toonami got fond memories of that little that little guy pilot on the space station. The pilot on the giant spaceship. CG, early CG. I adored the Megas design right off the bat. That design really did it for me. So a really awesome car head on top of this giant kind of square. Basically, it's like geometric shapes. It's like a lot of squares and rectangles. It was like easy to draw. It was a lot of fun. Again, this giant awesome robot body with this blue, this flames, and this tiny little robot head, and the fact people get in and the controls really have these video game controller premise.
I also love how the main controller is the GameCube controller, and the GameCube was current when the show was being made.
Well, I mean, also it looks kind of PlayStation-esque, but
Yeah, but it's got the purple and it's got the yellow joystick, so I think it's supposed to be a GameCube.
I mean, yeah, sometimes it varies in design. Like sometimes they scrutinize it. They give it sometimes when they have to really show Coop pushing the buttons, they'll add more detail.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I think it's just different enough from the GameCube controller to legally not be considered a GameCube controller.
That's what I'm saying. They gotta change it, which makes it look like a few different things sometimes.
Now, Steven Universe, on the other hand, Steven Universe, they don't give a shit. They straight up just animate GameCubes and N64s, but I digress.
Anyway, point is, I got a lot of fun there. I love the design it makes. I love the idea of, it has like video game controls and it's like, because any kid that, doesn't know how to drive, it's like the idea of, oh my god, it's not only a car, it's a giant robot with a car, and you don't even have to drive. You can just walk in it.
I mean, let's talk about how cool the first reveal of the Magus is in the present day, where Coop is talking to Jamie, and he's just got this car, and Jamie's like, "Oh, Coop, I don't know, that's not that impressive." And then we just have like just giant freaking robot just coming out of the garage. Really, really fun stuff.
And of course, then it's brought up. Oh wait a minute, your mom's gonna kill you. Look at all this destruction.
Which is a running theme of the series.
Yep, a lot of destruction. No doomsdays in sight, but a lot of destruction. It kind of makes me
think that Zack Snyder was a fan of this movie, or a fan of this show, I should say.
Let's hope I don't know. Actually, maybe Zack Snyder would be good at directing this.
That's what I'm saying.
Now what I think about it, I don't know. I think he'd still find some way.
Jack Black is Coop.
Everyone has been saying that, especially Erod. Erod has been
Jack Black, hoping. Really?
Everyone wants Jack Black for Coop.
I just randomly threw that out of my ass. I put no thought into that cast.
No, that's been a thing that's been always speculated for the desperate fanboy hoping this movie gets made. A lot of people have been saying Jack Black.
Okay, and then what about Aaron Paul as Jamie?
Well, again, it's so funny. It's kind of the proto Aaron Paul when you think about it.
Right? Yeah, in a way.
Anyway, boys, a lot of attachment to this show. It was for me. I'm sure if I look back on it now, if I look back kind of the classic series for like Transformers or Gundam or something, I might be able to get into, especially Transformers. I like vehicles and stuff. Mainly I like kind of gadget based kind of vehicles. I mean, that's what the Batmobile, the DeLorean, stuff like that. The Transformers, it's kind of like have this drama going on. The point is, if I really dedicated time, I might become a fan of Transformers. But as a kid, I was in the Dragon Ball. I was in kind of, again, Toonami really was in my wheelhouse. And with this show came on, I was like, oh my god, it's Transformers, that whole like kind of the robotic drama. I got to worry about knowing all sorts of different characters. This one giant robot facing different threats now and again. Primarily, they're these giant squid guys. It was my preferred cross between Transformers and Gundam. Gundam being, correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to say Gundam's also kind of an anime show where you have people inside the giant robots.
Yeah, Gundam's definitely like one of the more popular giant mech shows for sure.
As I was saying, point is a giant mech show, an animated variety. Anyway, so this show was fun. It was action packed. And one of the things I just love, even coming back to it every time I rewatch it enchains me in no end. I love the great sense of mundanity. I adore
Of course. That's the best element of this show, I think.
It's just, I know I've said mundanity constantly because I do love it. It's God help me, I love mundanity. It's the idea of all this really cool action juxtaposed with all of this action, all this really earth-shattering stuff, all over these little monotonous everyday things in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It was just
Kevin Smith would be proud, I think.
That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of
Has
people
Kevin
say,
Smith ever talked about this show out of curiosity?
it always bugs me that he's never checked out this
Just
show.
because of the Jersey connection, if anything else.
I know. But seriously though, it's like pretty much if Kevin Smith was, I just wish Kevin Smith like co-write a script or something, or like co-direct,
or like write a Megas XLR comic book or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that. But I'm saying that I think for a movie though, he'd be great. He basically it's Clerk-like scenarios.
It totally is Clerk-like scenarios.
Basically, you get like this is the project that Tim Miller and Kevin Smith should work together on. You know, you have the excellent director bringing the absurd to life, mixed with a guy who can write the most absurd, hilarious dialogue. You mix those two guys together, you get. Well, I mean, he's doing Buckaroo Banzai right now. Let's not rule it out.
I'm excited about that. We'll talk about that as it gets closer. But
point is, a lot of great memories associated with this show, and let's get into a little further details of why that is.
Can I bring one thesis statement up about my feelings for the show before we move on?
Go on. You have permission.
Okay, I think this show is essentially like basically an animated version of what the Michael Bay Transformers movie should have been. And I specifically say the Michael Bay Transformers movies because this show does have a very Michael Bay quality to it. But not in a bad way. It's kind of got like the best, like when you think like the best of Michael Bay, like, you think like the 4th of July fireworks and the just uber patriotism and stuff like that. And, it's like, I feel like this show has all that, but it handles its characters obviously a lot better. It's honestly like almost as mindless as something like a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
But it's self-aware. It's self-aware though.
Exactly. That's the main difference. It's like if the Michael Bay Transformers movies were self-aware about how stupid they were, it'd basically be Megas XLR.
I mean, come on, Robot Heaven, really? Robot Heaven.
That series lost me before Robot Heaven, man. That I was done like 20 minutes into that second movie. Anyways, so yeah, let's go through the characters who are much more likable than anything you'll find in a Michael Bay Transformers movie.
So we have Coop, voiced by the wonderful David DeLuise, who's the son of Don DeLuise.
the John Ratzenberger of Don Bluth movies.
Yep. Kind of again the inciting incident that gave us the Muppet movie.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this guy, I've seen him in a few other things too. By the way, David DeLuise he's a good voice actor. He's a fun actor to have when you can. Basically, just Coop. He's the best way to describe Coop. He's a wonderfully simple guy. He takes great pleasure in cool stuff like video games, food, monster movies, classic cars, destruction, a lot of destruction. He takes great pleasure in the simple things in life, and he serves the role very. I got to tell you, watching Ash vs. Evil Dead, the Star show, has been coming on really recently, and I've had familiarity with Bruce Campbell. I haven't watched the Evil Dead film series, but I mean, I have reverence for it. I see why it's cool. I mean, I love Bruce Campbell and what the clips I've seen of that movie. But again, I've seen the show. Having watched that show before going back to watch the series again, Megas XLR, I got to tell you, and we'll get to another reason why Bruce Campbell went into the equation. But Coop very much is so much like kind of Ash from the Evil Dead films. He's kind of the unconventional hero. He's the guy who relies a lot on dumb luck. He gets himself in these very he's very flawed. He's very self-motivated over these mundane things. But in the end, over these mundane things, but in the end, usually by dumb luck or just kind of by happenstance, he will win the day, even though he gets himself into these. Very much he's constantly flawed. He's an unconventional hero. He means well, but he's by no means the most responsible guy in the room.
Yeah, like I was saying, I think my favorite quality of Coop is the fact that they managed to take a character that could have very easily been like, the stupid fat slob comic relief archetype, the side character, and they turned that into what is a very, very likable main hero for the show, which I thought that was a really cool like subversion of the typical trope you see for like, oh, he's a big fat guy, he likes to eat.
Yeah, like they turn all the kind of conventions on its head. Like you like this guy no matter what he does, and he says all these kind of these fun quirks. So like, it's not just food; it's like the most unconventional, bizarre food.
I think they go a little overboard on the food jokes, Dragon. I mean, just to the point where it gets a little repetitive for me because it's like. And I get that the repetitive nature of some of these gags is kind of the point that they're reoccurring gags and stuff like that, but I don't know. Like, I remember there was a moment, specifically I recall, like, Coop's, like, I don't even remember what episode it was, but there was a line where Coop was like, oh, man, I've only eaten, like, 3 large pizzas today. I'm totally hungry. I'm like, okay, writers, just slow down on the gluttony, all right? Slow down just a little bit.
Well, I mean, I love the eating contest bit in one of the episodes. I mean, you know, he lives in this absurd excess, and with everything, it's not just food. You know, with like tons of video games. It's
you're right. Yeah.
You know, tons of destruction. You know, it just fits. Anyway, I love that. I think a statement, one of the lines he had in the pilot, just sums up his character to a T. So his first line to Kiva when mentioning this whole future conflict is, "Hey, look, lady, I'm no hero. I'm just a guy from Jersey." It sums up his character wonderfully. He doesn't see himself as a hero. Don't get me wrong. He just loves an excuse to kind of beat up on, you know, the beat up on the giant monsters and stuff. Because, you know, he loves that stuff in day-to-day life. He just wants to have a good time in his giant robot, which he just views as a car with destructive capabilities.
And that's really the fun premise of the show. Is it's basically just this simpleton just running around trying to have a good time. You know, it's like he doesn't need to hurt anybody, but it's just these epic adventures kind of happen around him to his reluctance.
But I love this, though, when things don't go his way. Again, he's with the self-motivation over these mundane things, but he does it with such genuine conviction and passion. Like, when someone takes away the smallest thing, like a mega slush, for example, he says, you know, we have one of my favorite running gags is the whole, like, you did the rule of three. You know, first you do this, then you do that, and then you do that, you're going down. It's just, oh, God.
I feel like that was a kind of a take on like the Saturday morning tropes that really worked. It's like it's in practically every episode, if not every single episode, and it's pretty much right at like the 19 minute mark. But it's always absurd. It's always like interrupted in a very funny way. You know, like sometimes Jamie will be like,
half a block.
Coop, they didn't do that. You did, Coop. You did that.
Which is it's hysterical. Again, they're making fun of the Saturday morning stuff.
Oh, I understand that. I totally get that. Yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of funny because it was on Saturdays. I don't think it was in the morning, though. But I could be misremembering that. I'm not sure. I don't know.
You know what? I actually think this might. Are you sure it wasn't one of those like weird 6 a.m. on Saturday shows?
I mean, the reruns.
Why no one watched it.
The reruns. Here's the thing. Initially, I thought that too. Apparently, the reruns were early in like the 3 a.m.
Okay.
The reruns are in 3 a.m., but the original show was just at like at nighttime.
Okay, gotcha.
Like 8, or I don't know, it was like between like 8 and 10 o'clock. I think I could be. It was years ago, folks. Forget. Anyway, let's see. But again, Koopy's likable. He's a likable, fine protagonist. He's a little dim, but he comes through in the end. Again, amazingly, he's very Bruce Campbell. He's very much Ash from Evil Days. He's this wonderfully dim character who you like for some reason.
Yeah.
In this case, he's constantly he's so simple, and you love it. Anyway, so
we'll definitely talk about it with the episode The Bad Guy, but I think that's probably one of the better episodes in regards to fleshing out his character more.
By the way, I love the designs in this show for our main guys. I mean, I love how Coop looks. I love none of them look the same. You know, Coop, they're all these different great kind of primary colors. You know, like Coop's, he's white, kind of the striped flannel, not striped, but what's the plaid flannel?
Plaid flannel, yeah. Plaid.
Like plaid, something, you know, the plaid red shirt that's kind of ripped open, and you know, and
right.
You have the blue jeans and you have the blonde. Again, I love the design of Coop. It always has a fun design. You know, he's not a conventional. He's not like a buff, not so everyman. You know, he's a realistic Jersey guy. You know, he's
basically like Greg Universe if Greg Universe were into cars instead of music.
Yes. Well, we know Greg Universe is into one car.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. If Greg Universe was like a mechanic instead of a musician, he'd basically be Coop.
Well, we've seen Coop's attempts at being a musician. Usually they end in more disaster. So, let's see. Then we have Jamie. Jamie, voiced by the wonderful, the talented Steve Blum, otherwise known as Wolverine for the most part.
Nice. Okay, so this is a hard character to nail down for me, Dragon. I think he's involved with some of the funniest gags on the show. Especially some of the runners, like I said, kind of how we were mentioning, like how we'll sometimes cut Coop down when Coop's trying to make his big like rule of three statements at the end of the episodes. I don't know, Dragon. I'm a bit mixed on Jamie. Like I like the dynamic that he has with Coop. I really like how they kind of fleshed out his relationship with Kiva, and we'll talk more about that when we get to her. But like I said, man, my big problem with Jamie as a character is, one, and I'm sure you've heard this complaint before, Dragon. It's a pretty common complaint. Jamie just kind of feels like he's essentially thrown in there just to be the comic relief character. He never really contributes anything to the plot. There's really no reason for him to be there in terms of plot, just outside of like, oh yeah, he's the best friend and he makes silly one-liners and stuff.
Well, I mean, he serves, the point he serves of the show is that, he keeps kind of the absurdity in check by pointing out, like, he's calling us on the silliness at times.
I understand the point that he serves to the show. Like I said, my problem is more kind of like, I don't necessarily understand his point within the context of the story. Like, he's obviously kind of out of his league when it comes to Coop's mechanical capabilities and then Kiva's knowledge of the future and everything. I don't... There's a little bit of a disconnect to me, like, where a lot of these problems could just be solved if he just wasn't with them, because he seems to kind of be the root of a lot of the problems.
I don't know, dude, man. At times, again, this might bleed into just kind of, it's a purpose of the show, but I mean, I don't know, I kind of see it as, one, it's like, Jamie emphasizes the point that, it's Coop's car, so, like, Kiva can't fully get her way, otherwise Jamie would be completely out of the show, but it's like, it's Coop kind of in some way showing a little bit of dominance. That's his car, and his buddy can get in the car.
Okay.
And, it's also like, Jamie does serve a purpose from time to time, and that, he does, again, he serves more, it's more a plot purpose of just, pointing out to Coop, like, all the new stuff that's happening in New Jersey. Oh, yeah, we gotta check that out. So again, maybe that's why Coop kind of also keeps getting in the car too. Just always he provides kind of what's going on the planet, kind of provides what's going on Earth. Like he keeps him up on the latest trends and the latest kind of food stuff. Not just food. I mean, the food, the video games, all sorts of the awesome stuff going on in New Jersey. He's got a finger on the pulse, Steve. Here's my best description of Jamie as a character. I think the best description is he is the most New Jersey element of the show in that he's like a combination of Randall. Randall from Clerks along with Brody from Mallrats. He's basically mixed those two characters together. Tell me I'm wrong.
Okay, when I watch season 2, I'm gonna totally go into it with that mindset.
Just think about it. He's basically a more restrained Randall, which would be a lot of Brody in there. The guy kind of calling him on the sardonic one, calling our optimistic fun Jersey boy on all the stuff that's going on. But Jamie, he also represents kind of Coop if Coop was less likable. And that's the idea. It's like he shows he's very selfish, he's very sardonic, and like a less chipper version of...
Okay, one of my favorite gags, speaking of which, is the whole, like, when he wants to borrow Coop's car, and it's like, when have I ever not been there for you, Coop? And it's like he doesn't even show up for Jamie's own birthday party that Coop's at.
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
so they definitely play his asshole qualities to a good comedic effect, for sure.
It's like Coop needs that. They need each other. They're like a great odd couple in that regard. He's the optimistic, kind of friendly. He'll be there for you. Coop's a lovely pushover, and you have Jamie, who's kind of like he's all self-motivated, saying, "No, why are we helping these guys? What are they going to do for us?" Because he's the devil on the shoulder, where Kiva's kind of the responsible yet droning angel on the shoulder.
Okay, can we talk about the sexism angle of Jamie, though, because I feel like it's an uncomfortable topic, and I don't necessarily think the character is sexist. And like I said, I'm certainly not like one of those social justice warrior types who's gonna like cry foul and start a Twitter war over it or anything like that. But Dragon, I just think it's worth mentioning, just because, like you said, I think just the cultural landscape in general of the country has changed, and I just feel like a character like Jamie, who's essentially kind of like a less charming version of Johnny Bravo when it comes to his attempts to picking up chicks, where he's really quite slimy about it a lot of the time. I don't know. What do you have to say for it? Like, I definitely can see it playing a lot better in 2004 than I can in 2016.
Well, the thing with that is, Jamie, I feel that it's so long as he gets his comeuppance whenever he tries to hit on women, objectifies women like that. Like, remember, there's the great example of he asked Kiva where the directions to this space Amazon planet,
because he wants to hit on hot Amazon chicks. Yeah,
again,
that's like, totally gonna work.
And again, look, he's flirting with women. He never goes. It goes as far, and again, he just sees them as it's not. It doesn't like he's not seeing them purely as sex objects per se. He's just seeing them as. I'm saying as far as they can get away with on television. So again, I'm not how much of that's. It just seems like he just wants a chance to talk to her. We see Jamie's kind of socially challenged because Mary doesn't like going to the mall. I mean, he's kind of a step. Yeah. This is gonna be a bad comparison. I'm just saying because I'm watching some Steven Universe reruns today. He's kind of like kind of how Lars is kind of socially. He doesn't really get along.
No, I could see the Lars connection because Lars is also kind of like the. I mean, Lars is obviously not as much of a friend to Steven as Coop is to Jamie, but there is kind of the whole thing where the one friend cares about them a lot more than the other friend does. Not to say that Jamie doesn't care about Coop, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, certainly. You know, it's that Jamie. He socially doesn't really kind of bridge out. It's only his select group he really hangs out with. And again, the women are kind of like a pipe dream. So in some way, it's like Jamie trying to. I could be reading into it, bear in mind, but I'm saying it feels to me like Jamie's attempt to kind of build himself up like a Coop. And at times, like towards the end of this season, you had a moment between Jamie and Kiva at times where Jamie will kind of exposit how he doesn't feel like the coolest guy in the group, and that will kind of be like him trying to get out of that kind of that socially anxious shell, that kind of socially awkward shell that be a ladies' man where he's just simply not equipped to do that.
And absolutely my favorite parts of his character are definitely the bonding moments that he has with Kiva over the course of the series, which I assume is going to develop further in season 2.
It does develop, but I don't want to give it away. Let's just say the ending of the next season does really kind of hint at Jamie's progression in that regard. You know,
cool.
It's that. The point is, Jamie does evolve. He doesn't change too much, otherwise he becomes unrecognizable. But you know, he and Kiva, they become better friends. It's more of like more comfort in each other. Like, you know, he becomes less sardonic to the main guys in a way. But it's not like he's not making jokes now and again. Just, you know, he's less kind of like dour on Kiva.
Like I said, I definitely think like if anyone's the Deadpool of the show, it's definitely him, because he's the one that really kind of gets all the he gets all the best lines. He kind of gets all the fourth wall breaky humor, if there is any fourth wall breaky humor to be had. You know, so
I mean, the show does feel a lot like Deadpool.
oh yeah, especially in the running gags, which we'll get into. But,
I'm telling you, Tim Miller and Kevin Smith collaborate. Anyway, real quick,
screw Jack Black. I want to see Kevin Smith straight up play Coop. I want to see that.
Anyway, real quick, let me just kind of go through a few more things. We can kind of linger on kind of the not negative, but kind of the not so positive about Jamie. It's like the funny thing. I don't
necessarily think we need to linger on it. So
no, I'm saying real quick, it's a few really great things about Jamie. So you get a little bit. He's just kind of this, aside from being the Clerks-esque Jersey boy of the group, he unintentionally provides a lot of helpful solution and advice. Again, whatever he says, you know, sardonic, it does lead to kind of the Coop getting an idea, which kind of ends up being kind of the saving grace of the conflict they're in. He serves as Coop's exposition and background. Like, Jamie will constantly say, like, "Oh, remember the last time this happened? We have a little flashback to what happened." He kind of sets those up.
The flashbacks are really well timed in this show. It's like they never go on for too long. They're usually kind of like Family Guy style cutaway gags, but work within the context of the story, which is great.
Yeah, like when Coop is like thinking about how on earth did you ever get so good at being a pilot? We see Coop playing video games throughout the years, and then we see Jamie kind of interjects some logic saying, "Coop, she's jacking your ride."
that was a very memorable gag. I think that was probably the most memorable gag from the pilot episode. That might be like the gag that won this series a series pickup. Actually, is that one gag?
Quite possibly. Let's see. So again, in the end, he always has faith in Coop's abilities. He doesn't really judge it. He has faith in Coop's abilities, not his judgment. He doesn't have faith in Coop's judgment one iota, because it's like Coop has very important instinctual judgment of hey, that's cool, that's destructive, let's do it.
You're right.
And again, he'll bet all the money in the world on him, as we see in the Magnanimous episode. But he does. He'll bet. He knows Coop's going to win the fight because he knows Coop's also going to get them into the fight. And of course, one of Jamie's last qualities going through here is he's very cowardly and very opinionated, especially when you call him a pet monkey thing.
Oh God!
One of the best lines in the show, by the way. Pet monkey thing. Anyway, so then let's transition to the character who called him that. Kiva.
Yes.
Wendy Lee.
Yes. Okay, so Dragon, she's fine. I think out of the three, she's definitely supposed to be the most level-headed, kind of like the common rational one out of the group, which works fine in the context of the show. I honestly wish she had a little bit more personality and a little bit more playfulness towards her. I think kind of the whole thing with her is that her playfulness is supposed to kind of slowly evolve. I noticed in one of the later episodes in the series, she was drinking one of the slushy drinks that they got like in one of the earlier episodes of the series. So they do kind of like they do slowly progress her, but I don't know. It's like she just kind of is like just one of those no nonsense just characters. It's hard to get a grasp of her personality. I don't necessarily think she's as fun as Coop and Jamie are. I know she's not meant to be the fun character, but out of our three main leads, she's probably the one I had the hard time grasping onto the most.
You know, she's the fun straight man of the group in that regard. You know, compared to these two guys, she's the one kind of questioning why on earth would you make these modifications to Vegas? What's wrong with you?
You know what? I do really like the dynamic where she's supposed to be kind of the Hermione Granger of the group, where she knows everything about everything, but because of the modifications that Coop made to Magus, she's basically just as clueless as anyone else is about Magus. Yeah, that's a fun dynamic. That's a fun twist on it.
Yeah, I love her. Yeah, she's kind of the trainer of Coop, even though I love how practical reasons. Remember, she tried to steal Magus, but that didn't work because he's modified it so much that she can't steer it anymore. She has no idea how video games work. She was born she was born in 3012.
So it's like she has to train Coop in the space combat and everything, and Coop has to train her in video games. That's a fun dynamic to build a show off of.
And also, it's the idea, you know, she knows the original specs of Magus. Like, she knows what should be in there, and maybe just she'll constantly ask Coop, like, "Where's this?" He says, "Oh, well, that." And we see like him smashing the time drive with the crowbar just for the heck of it.
Right.
Don't know. So let's see. Yeah, it's I rewatching it, kind of thinking about it again. Again, another Deadpool comparison. I'm sorry, but it's very accurate.
No, I can see it. I can see it.
She's very much she's the heroic Cable-esque figure. She's very much like Cable.
Oh God, so Keira Knightley's gonna play her in the movie then.
Well, I mean, Cable's a little more beefier than that, but I don't know. She's got range.
Hey, I got Keira Knightley Cable in my Deadpool Christmas.
I know. The point is, you know, she is kind of like basically much like Cable. She's the heroic figure from the future who's trying to save the Earth, and very much like Cable, who's the same thing. Just only it's like saving mutant kind from upheaval and stuff.
Right.
And I like that with Kiva's character, you know, she turns a failed mission into like another chance to save the world through very unconventional means. And through the course, you know, she learns about the 21st century culture, and she bonds with Coop and Jamie.
Okay.
So I think she's a solid character. And again, you get a little more development. You get more fun Kiva stories in season 2.
I assume so. I honestly kind of took the storyline that her and Jamie have in the final episode of the season is kind of like the start of another arc for her. So okay. Anyways,
I think they're both really good kind of side characters for Coop out of our main guy. And when they mix it up, it's pretty funny. Again, just kind of the slacker, New Jersey.
And one of my favorite storylines is just her and Jamie going to the mall.
Yes. Okay, let's see. So then we have Goat.
Yes. This is the TJ Miller type of the show.
A lot of Deadpool. I'm sorry.
Seriously. Can you just picture T.J. Miller playing this role? Tell me that would fit beautifully.
T.J. Miller's in practically everything. Of course, I get T.J. Miller in this role.
I'm just saying. I don't know. I love this character. This character is probably like my favorite personality on the show. He's just like, he thinks in his own mind that he's a suave lady man, even though he's kind of like this disgusting garbage man who has no sense of self-hygiene at all whatsoever.
Junk connoisseur, one could probably say.
He's got this really, really great arc about wanting to have a robot like Magus that gets paid off in a beautiful way towards
the season. Remember that I just want to address if I can interject for one moment with your point. I love the beginning of that arc. Is the fact that the reason Goat's so bent on getting a mech is because he sold a mech for $2.
Exactly. Right.
Which I'm assuming, and this is like a very small.
$2. How much is this? $2. Look, Coop. Everything in this pile is $2.
Giant mech is revealed. What do you think that is? I don't know. $2, huh? And now, this is a very minor nitpick I have for the show because I pretty much have very little to no negatives for the show. But there's this one gag that kind of bugs me: the fact that Coop did not pay him the $2 for that mech.
Is it kind of like the Pokemon thing with Misty and the bike?
Wait, did Ash never get her a bike again?
Literally, when Ash got her the bike, that's when she left the show.
Wait a minute, did Ash steal the bike to save Pikachu? I'm sorry,
Yes, Ash stole the bike to save Pikachu in, like, the second episode of this.
Yeah, I forgot. For some reason, I kept thinking that it was Misty's fault about the bike, but no.
No. And then, like I said, like, once Ash actually, like, gave his word, you know, like, once he fulfilled his promise of getting the bike, that's when Misty left. So,
yeah. You think you get some sort of fee for all the Pokemon battles and you buy her a new bike. Anyway, point is, back to this. Wrong anime.
Yes.
Well, that was an anime. This is kind of somewhat based on anime. You know, of anime varieties. I know, not anime. Regardless. Goat. You were saying, TV, so again, sold a mech for $2, which probably just fuels the desire for one.
Which, like I said, pays off in a freaking beautiful way.
Oh yeah, he's the eccentric junkyard owner. He's and again, junk enthusiast too.
Mm-hmm. And I also kind of like the dynamic where this guy's like trying to be a fatherly figure to the other two characters, but he's probably more immature than even Coop is.
Yeah, well, he tries to play it off like the wise, maybe not father figures, but I get what you're saying. Man. He's very much kind of like he thinks he's the expert trying to teach the boys.
Exactly. But he's probably the most immature character on the whole show, including Jamie, probably.
Of course. He tries to hit on Kiva too. A lot of chances.
He's got that hilarious moment where he passes out in the hot dog eating contest, and then Coop pulls the hot dog out of his mouth.
Oh yeah. And I like that we have familiar faces in that hot dog eating contest, by the way, because we're familiar with our New Jersey characters. I think he's friends to Coop and Jamie, but he's even weird by their standards. And our guys, by no stretch, are kind of in the again, one of them just drives around, not in the muscle car, but a muscle car attached to a giant, stories tall robot.
Right.
All right, so moving on from Goat, just two of our bad guys, kind of lumped in the same category, but a little different. We got the leader of our reoccurring bad guys, Gorath, voiced by the wonderful, the talented Lex Luthor and Mr. Krabs himself, Clancy.
Arr, SpongeBob.
My Gorath he's hilariously over the top. You know, his reactions to our hero's dumb luck is priceless. Because he sometimes thinks, the Earther must, the Earther, he must have all sorts. It must be super skilled combat. And at times he develops a respect for Coop at times, and that kind of goes into season 2 also. Where he has this bizarre. It really starts off in the last episode of the season where you see him develop a little bit of respect for Coop, a smidgen of respect, and like the idea these two guys are constantly in battle. He just keeps being outwitted by the dumbest guy in a mech, and he doesn't know how dumb he doesn't really know how much dumb luck is really defeated. But by his standards, he thinks actually it's a little bit of skill. And he's kind of
right, exactly.
The reason Gorath's always so bent out of shape is because apparently he has like a spotless kind of military record of conquering planets, like left and right, until he reaches this one. He keeps being thwarted by the same guy. And also, you got to remember, Gorath and the Glorf in general, they're really not happy because when they chase Megas and Kiva through the time warp, they're stuck in the present also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can't go back. So, he's constantly foiled. He's constantly foiled, and he's so over the top. Anyway.
I'm not a big fan of this guy just because I think he's a little bit formulaic. I think his design's pretty off the shelf. And, like, I get what they're trying to do with him with kind of being a parody of the classic Saturday morning bad guy. But to me, out of all the parodies of Saturday morning tropes, he was the one that didn't... Like, to me, it was less of a parody, and it was more just kind of like, oh, okay, here's, like, basically just a trope. I don't know. It's like, I had a hard time seeing past this guy just being kind of like a very cliche and Bison type take over the world type character.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. It's subjectivity, Steve.
Absolutely, and keep in mind, I kind of marathon through this thing, so I'm very much hoping that season 2 I'll latch onto him a little bit more, see where it goes. As of right now, he's definitely out of the main kind of recurring characters. He's definitely the one that I'm the least excited about. He's definitely the most formulaic character on the show for me, but, like I said, I mean, all these characters are kind of like taking on tropes. Like, I mean, even Kiva is kind of like a parody of like the badass anime chick from the future. You know what I mean? So
yeah. With the little techno thing in her neck.
Right.
She has like implants in her arms so she can like holo project things. She's all tricked out.
So definitely it's like every character on this show is kind of an archetype, but I don't know, Dragon. It's like really, to me, it's like the one joke they have for this guy is, oh, he yells a lot and he's angry, and I don't know. I think the Kevin Michael Richardson character is actually more amusing than the main villain.
And that is the Glorf Commander. He doesn't really have a name, just kind of Commander.
Yeah.
So one is our Glorf Commander, voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. He's kind of the poor right-hand man of this maniac. He takes all the abuse, and the idea you get is like he's actually the smarter of the two. But he never basically he gives like really wise advice, like saying, "Well, sir, maybe we should retreat at this point." He says, "Oh, say when we retreat." But he's the smarter out of him and Gorath, and just. There's a lot of comedy in the reactions, like when Gorath's in a bad movie, he covers his squid parts because the constant funny threat from Gorath is, "I'll have your chorblots," which is basically like tentacles, which kind of like a tender part of the alien, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways, those are our main guys.
Okay. So you want to get into the episodes then?
Yeah, I'll do a rundown of the episodes. So the first episode is the pilot, Test Drive.
And like you said, Dragon, this is kind of basically what they did is they just kind of added scenes to the original Cartoon Network pilot for the first episode. Yeah. Where they added the whole origin of Magus in the junkyard with Goat. I believe that's something they added. Stuff like that. Just kind of flesh out the story. Definitely kind of like the main prologue stuff in the future and how Magus was sent back to the past. But overall, Test Drive, very fun episode. Like we said, it gave us, I think, the joke that kind of landed the series with a lot of people, which was Coop and Jamie playing video games through the years, transitioning into like the current situation. It's a good way to introduce the show. I honestly wish that the show would have done more with the time travel element, because honestly, when I heard the premise, when I was watching this episode, I was really intrigued by what they could do with the time travel thing. Like, I like the idea of a robot from the future, and unfortunately, they don't really do a lot of ideas with that, but I quickly found out that it's not really a show that's supposed to have big ideas in the first place. Like, that's not really the point of a show like this. Yeah. So I warmed up to it. So anything to say?
Let's just say the next season, there's really only like one episode that kind of deals with the time travel.
Okay.
Because, just from the get-go, they're in the pilots revealed at the end, they're both stranded. Like, Kiva and the Glorf are stranded in the present time. Because, Coop destroyed the time drive. So let's see. So next episode's a favorite of many people for the wonderful guest star they have. He's a big parody of himself, and less of himself, more of the character he's done. The great, the powerful, magnanimous in Battle Royale.
Yes, this is the Bruce Campbell episode, folks. I have to admit, Dragon, I really wish that I would have had time to rewatch this one. Like, if I could have rewatched any of the season 1 episodes, I probably would have rewatched this one. This was obviously second episode very early on in my little marathon that I did of this show. So I hate to admit it, but I remember really liking this episode. I remember having a lot of fun with the Bruce Campbell stuff. But I don't remember like specific gags or anything like that. So,
well, the opening was hysterical. The opening is like they're watching kind of a typical robot battle. Like the people with remote controls just kind of work.
Kind of like the Big Hero 6 thing.
Yeah, like the beginning of Big Hero 6, and basically it's like saying, "Oh, like look at the carnage," and then we cut out and we see actually Megas like holding like a giant monster in the headlock or something. Bang. And then the premise of the episode is really fun. It's Magnanimous, who essentially he's a MODOK-like character. MODOK is a Marvel character. He's basically a giant floating head with tiny arms and legs, which they are freaked out by, and I love that.
Right.
And again, honestly, I wish if Bruce Campbell is not Mysterio, is going to be an upset. But regardless, if Bruce Campbell is not a Marvel character, like I would adore it. That was the only way you make MODOK really awesome, if you give him Bruce Campbell's voice. But oh my god, it's kind of a giant Bruce Campbell. It looks very much like Ash from Evil Dead, and the fact there's kind of a decapitation of some kind by the end is feels very kind of Evil Dead-esque. Point is, Bruce Campbell, he brings the charm, he brings kind of the Elvis, kind of the Elvis presentation of Madman. Also, he's a little bit like Spider-Man too. I don't know if this is intentional or not, but he's kind of like a fight promoter, a little bit like.
I definitely caught that, Dragon. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Even this was 2 years after the. Even this was 2 years after the initial Spider-Man movie.
And the initial Spider-Man movie like broke box office records for its time. So yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how crazy that one actually sounds. Because again, the pilot was in 2002. There's a chance they could have been inspired by. You know who we love? We love Bruce Campbell. What do we love more than just Evil Dead? Well, I mean, he's in the Spider-Man movies, and it's fun that he's cameos in those. And what was his first one? Oh, he's the fight. He named Spider-Man. Okay, let's get
sure.
And it's a fun premise, and let's just say it does come back in a really fun way. But you have not seen the last of Magnanimous, and he's a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it. All right. Next one's All I Wanted Was a Slushie. I'm sorry, you have anything else to say?
I don't know, just again, Battle Royale.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay, All I Wanted Was a Slushie. This is a great way to kind of take the most mundane premise in the world, just running around Jersey City looking for a slushie machine. That's it. That's the whole premise of the episode. And they take it and they run with it. And I feel like this is kind of the episode where initially I was kind of like, okay, I'm not really sure what this show is, if it's supposed to be more action or more comedy. This was definitely the episode where I was like, okay, this is definitely a comedy. You know what I mean? This was definitely where I think the show kind of found its comedic footing.
Yeah, because of course the antagonist is another guest star. It's Michael Dorn.
Oh God! Might be my favorite of the one-off villains that we had this season.
Not just I Am Weasel. His war.
Right.
So many. So the great Michael Dorn is Regis. Regis is kind of this.
Yes. Again, a lot of early 2000s type references and humor in this show.
Basically like a solar I love this. This is a constant thing, is that this might come into play a little more in season 2. Not this character in particular, I'm just talking about in general, premise about the layout for it. Coop a lot of the times will, again, it's like their play on kind of the Joseph Campbell like hero model, is that the hero creates his own villain.
Right.
And that Coop various times he again, complete accidents, complete carelessness. He was just oh boy, it's really hot. I was just quickly testing the mega systems, and it was like, zooming around, pretty much heading back to Earth, and accidentally, like, he smashed something. I can't quite recall the circumstance, but the point is, he ran into, I remember now, he bumped into an invisible ship. It was like, ship was in cloaking mode. Basically, he damaged a prison transport ship, which is transporting Regis. It landed on Earth, and while they're getting a slushie on a really hot day in New Jersey, a real sunny, hot day in New Jersey, the solar-powered menace to planets that eventually it's like a giant kind of technomorphin spider thing voiced by the most terrifying voices known to sci-fi.
As I must say, I've got an arachnid phobia, and this episode definitely played into that.
It's like a robo spider, and with operatic music wherever he goes. Remember the operatic music?
Yes. I love, by the way, I just love the show's use of just stock music in general.
I just love it had this great serious operatic music as it was preventing slushies. A mega slush, preventing our hero from getting a mega slush. I love that his needs were so minor.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you though, again, Tiki and I are big advocates of food animation here, and I get to how delectable did that make that stratosphere.
7-Eleven needs to make that whole trippy slurpy thing happen.
It needs the stratospheric strawberry.
Yeah.
Remember?
Seriously, 7-Eleven, get on that shit. It wouldn't be hard to do. Just like I want to be able to have 3 Slurpees in 1 cup. That's all I'm saying.
Again, I just love that. I just love the stratosphere show. I would actually like to try that. Oh god, that looked very.
Like I said, I love how Kiva very slowly kind of takes a liking to those slushies over the course of the season.
I love how serious. I'm sorry, I love how serious Coop was about it. Because remember, he's actually using the technology where it's like, okay, using the homing beacon to kind of cross-reference stuff. Oh, that's a good idea. We can find out where Reus came from. No, we're just trying to find the next mega slush.
Right.
Yeah, I love they're checking the seat cushions for cash because they.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a great running gag throughout the thing. Yeah. And he's counting
cushions. Oh god, it's so funny, it's so mundane. I love at the end of the day, it's like doing a very mechanical car thing to stop. The exhaust kind of blocks out the sun. It causes snow somehow.
Right,
And,
which is a little worrying. I must say.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much I'd want it breathing that exhaust. But
And
I
again,
digress.
remember, it was like really hot out. Now it's snowing, and again, in the midst of the snow, then they're having slushies.
It's Christmas in July after all.
God, anyway, just and of course we have the runner of like kind of the kid saying "cool," where he finds the
Yes,
giant.
and I love how that kid comes back like towards the end of the series.
Basically, the kid kind of pulls an iron giant where he keeps a piece of Regis. Spills.
Yeah, all I wanted with the slushie was definitely a highlight of season 1 for me, for sure.
And again, I think I unfortunately I don't know it like the back of my head, but again, I think the rant there was one of the best rants. Just Coop's like Mega Slusher because the most impassioned. Because I actually felt for him, like no, let him get especially as a. Oh
yeah, this episode does a really good job of like it's something very minor, but Coop just keeps getting thwarted, and he has this slushie.
And he's so close because he had it in hand. You feel so bad for him. You care over a Mega Slush, and then
right.
Of course, Kiva gets to have some Mega Slush. She actually comes around. Oh my God, this is kind of important. She actually likes it before again getting brain freeze. So, episode 4, The Fat and the Furious. That is another good one. That is the auto show.
Yeah, this has a lot of fun side characters in it. It's one of Goat's major roles in an episode.
Yeah, we have Tiny. Tiny's kind of Coop's friendly competitor.
Right. He was great. The thing that I took away from this episode the most, Dragon, is I found it very interesting, kind of people's reactions to Coop's destruction, where it's like throughout the episode, Coop is just causing a giant mess with Megas, and yet everyone is just kind of like applauding it. And I gotta say, that's gotta be some comedy, right? That's gotta be some kind of poking fun at some stuff right there.
Oh yeah, and again, I love that. I just love how friendly the kind of the New Jersey kind of auto enthusiasts are. You know, they're so friendly towards each other. You know, they help out at the end of the day when they're trying to stop the Galore from by they're playing this great game of kind of hot potato keep away with the capacity. It was the computer. There's the computer thing for Megas that basically allowed the controls to work.
Right.
And of course, Coop, hilariously, out of all his like very Ash from Evil Dead-esque stunts, just he destroyed like a football when he caught it. He destroyed the computer circuit thing. I think Kiva had we get one of my favorite gadgets. We get we have the manual control backup.
Yes, that I really love how that comes back into play later.
This is like a Dance Revolution.
Oh my god!
Dance Revolution manual control, and I thought that was brilliant. I still love that.
I love the flashback of like all the girls watching like young Coop on Dance Revolution.
Well, yeah, it wasn't that young. That was the gay.
Right.
Early.
Well, they have a lot of fun gags like that, where it's like, of course, they have the gag. I'm skipping ahead, but it's like Coop like trying to fit the puzzle piece into the puzzle as a baby, and then it's like as a full-grown adult, he smashes the hole to fit it in. He's like, all right.
Let's see. So then we have a bug in the system. Bug in the system is they run across this giant kind of ring world, and the idea is like, hey, if we play this right, we actually learn a lot about the cosmos and the galaxy and stop the stuff in the future. It's all computer banks making this ring world, but not all is so because they're giant electrical. Basically,
now, is this the one where it's basically the planet that's the giant encyclopedia?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, again, it's like computer banks. It's like just giant data towers, really. That's what it is. Anyway, so before they can really use any of those data towers, Casimir, she instructs Coop, don't destroy. It's like an encyclopedia. Don't destroy.
Coop has bad luck with libraries.
Oh, God. And that was one of the... See, that's a great young Coop right there. Just seeing Coop getting the book on the top shelf.
I love how he's so passionate about reading that he genuinely is like trying so hard to get that book. It's like, I would want to know what that book is. It's probably like some handbook on automobiles or something like that.
Maybe. And then he topples all of them. And it's like this domino effect, which is how the episode ends, where he dominoes the whole ring. Again, they're giant data towers.
Yes.
They're giant like data towers, kind of set up like dominoes, and pretty much knocks him over in the end. After they battle these bugs. These bugs feed on electricity and kind of see like electricity, and they get inside Megas. It's like a giant kind of electrical bug has laid eggs inside of Megas, and it's up to Jamie and Kiva to kind of destroy the queen, kill all the bugs, so they can get Megas out of there. Because right now it's like if it moves or turns on any electricity or or energy, it's going to signal them, which is bad. So after defeating those things, there's a hilarious bit where Jamie accidentally knocks out Kiva, and she thinks, "Oh, you saved me from the thing." Then she finds out on the videotape, like, you. Coop just topples over the whole thing, so it was all for naught.
I love how that tape just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating.
And he really whacked her good with that bat.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
You didn't. You got knocked out by that.
Oh, God.
All right, so then we have a favorite. We have Bad Guy.
Yes, this was a great one. This Dragon, to me, I kind of took it as a parody of Power Rangers, but I assume there's something else involved as well.
I mean, it could be Power Rangers, because Power Rangers eventually got kind of their own little mech, kind of Voltron things.
Sure.
Now, what is it, like Megazords or something? I don't know. I read it as like Voltron because it's like all of them kind of combined to be like
Voltron. Right, yeah.
It's like people like animal themed little
Also,
bots.
I got a little bit of Speed Racer vibe in there as well.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, it's like a lot of anime references with the S-Force. So the S-Force folks, they are just this hilarious, primarily Voltron, but all have other influences. A little bit of Power Rangers, a little bit of Speed Racer now and again. They go into these things called Zorps, and in terms of the Zorps are kind of their vehicles that combine to be a giant guy like a Voltron. Like kind of Deadpool's again. A lot of Deadpool here, folks. Like 3 Super Lion bots. Like 5 mini Lion bots to become a Super Lion bot.
Right.
Something along those lines. Sorry if I'm butchering that. We have this team of like classic kind of references to kind of that kind of Voltron-esque or Power Rangers-esque group, because they also follow the orders of a giant floating head. So maybe you're on the some of the Power Rangers. I don't know, but. They basically, this is a great kind of consequence for Coop, which we get more consequence for Coop in the second season, is the idea that Coop's destruction, like all the robot battles and everything, all the constant destruction of New Jersey, they read it as, oh my God, there's this horrible monster destroying this planet.
I've got to admit, this episode came at the perfect time for me because it kind of came at a point where I was getting just a little bit sick and confirmed about the whole Man of Steel syndrome, and like, okay, there is a lot of property damage. Like, if you counted up all the buildings being destroyed here, like, Jersey City would basically be leveled 2 times over by the time we get to this point in the series.
Yeah, dude, Jersey must have, in this show, Jersey must have such a great insurance plan for the whole city.
Oh, God. But I digress. So,
yeah, and it's this great thing. It's a great misunderstanding, because usually we hate misunderstandings. So this one's kind of a fun, because it makes a lot of sense. And Coop realizing, oh my God, they think I'm the bad guy.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and it's just like it's something that the show needed. Like, the show would have suffered, I think, if they never acknowledged the property damage thing. You know what I mean? If they never put that idea out there, then I think that's just something that people could kind of like look back on the show on and be like, hey, plot hole and whatnot. You know?
Yeah, and again, it's a fun thing where Coop genuinely, he hates being thought of as the bad because he thinks he's doing good. He's stopping the bad guys, but again, no consciousness for property damage at all. Right. And you feel for him, as I love kind of the crisis of conflict where Coop thinking he's a bad guy really hurts his feelings. I love he's just trying to explain to these guys, and they're kind of, again, they could kind of a Batman v Superman thing where they're not listening to reason here, or at least they tried to. Our guys tried to give them some reason, but they just wouldn't listen.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to mention this. I love kind of the classic voice actors, because we had Frank Welker in this, and we had Frank Welker. I believe he's also the bad guy, but he is maybe a few incidental roles. And I love this. There's Scott Inez, if I'm saying that right, I-N-N-E-S. Scott Inez. He basically does a Casey Kasem impression. And
yes, I totally caught that.
And this actor, by the way, basically anytime you don't hear Casey Kasem as Shaggy, it's this guy doing his Casey Kasem impression.
Okay.
So this is the kind of Shaggy Rogers Scooby-Doo voice.
Nice.
Anyways, I love he's the leader there. I just love hearing kind of I love Casey Kasem.
And I love how his the animation on his lips is slightly out of sync with the dialogue.
Yep, I think
that's very Speed Racer-esque.
Yeah, we have Jennifer Hale as kind of the one in pink. We have
right, of course.
We have kind of our kooky kind of Darwin, not Darwin, Donnie-esque from the Wild Thorns. Our non-lingual one who's just it's all gibberish.
Oh,
Anyway, so again, also by the way, again, I love the eating contest at the beginning. Again, with the food animation, Tiki and I just have a great fondness for. I love good eating contests. It's one of my favorite episodes of Harold is an eating contest episode. I don't know why. I love when it's well animated. I like it, just the idea. This is a guy.
I think with the food animation and the food eating contest, it wasn't necessarily the fact that the food looked appetizing. It was just like it was animated in such a creative way to just show how gluttonous Coop was with the hot dogs.
He's eating like giant hot dogs by the handfuls.
Right.
It's disconcerting and worrisome, but let's not dwell on that. But these giant things of butter. So I mean, let's not just dwell on the implications of that. Again, just giant thing of butter.
I could make a dark joke about why this series ended prematurely.
Okay, stop! Don't make that. Don't make that joke. I'm serious. Don't do it.
I'm not going to. I'm just saying I could.
All right. I know you could. Moving on. So,
let's talk about my personal favorite episode of the season, which was Breakout. Yeah.
So one last thing I gotta mention about bad guys. I love the bad guy though. I love the bad guy Ender, who again I believe he's Frank Welker doing the voice. I just love that this guy he's praising Coop throughout. Like I never could have imagined such evil. You've embarrassed them because remember he basically stop Ender. What he does is he makes himself into a Voltron, which is hysterical. Where the S-Force is not signed off on this plan, as they're told. It basically he fits them on like gloves and galoshes, gloves and boots to fight Ender, and it's just him saying, "I never could have imagined embarrassing my enemies like such, and you, sir, truly are evil." So I love this bad guy is praising him, and he's Coop's argument like, "I ain't the bad guy." Anyway, so I'm sorry to your favorite episode.
Yeah, Breakout. I love this episode. This it has probably one of the more menacing villains that we get to see, at least one-off villains here.
One of the best comeuppances.
Yes. I love just the setup. I love just the basic premise of this episode where Coop has so many video game systems that he has a cartridge that he can't find which system the cartridge fits into. That's very funny. A lot of really good video game references here. Kind of classic video game culture, like when he blows on the cartridge to see if that'll get the cartridge to work. That's a classic 90s thing video game owners used to do, their Super Nintendos and whatnot. I don't know. Just this whole episode just feels really, really fun. This is also the same episode where we'll get the mall trip, right?
I think it's because Coop he bought the game at a garage sale, I think, or something. And basically, while he's doing that, our guys are at the mall.
Right.
Game at the mall. I think that's this episode. Yeah.
Which is great because it also gives Kiva and Jamie kind of their first side story away from Coop, which develops their character. And
I'm sure it's this episode. You're right, Tiki. It is definitely this episode. I remember now. It's
cool. I don't know. I really, really appreciate all the video game culture references. The title itself, Breakout, is actually the title of one of my personal favorite arcade games. It's basically like the paddleboard game where I'm sure you've heard of Breakout before. It's a very archaic game, but it's one of my favorites.
I just love the idea that this alien race of some kind would banish. Basically, it's like the Phantom Zone with Superman. They banish these horrible prisoners to such a video game looking console thing.
Right.
It lands on Earth, and again, it's just in a video game console. And they go accidentally freeze.
It actually functions like a video game where Coop can control it and everything.
Yep, and as I love that he banishes him to another video game in a much more fair. It's like what? Do you remember the games like?
It was like some sort of like happy trolls.
Basically, some kind of like Keebler looking Keebler looking. I'm sorry, like more like Smurf looking trolls of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're basically you kill them all if they want. They're gonna keep coming back because it's a game.
And they're just begging to be let back into the max security prison.
it's hysterical. Okay, let's see.
Really fun episode.
8 is a big favorite amongst people. I'm one of them. I adore this episode. This is mundanity at its finest in the show. DMV, Department of Megas Violations.
Yes. This was a good one, Dragon. This was definitely a good one.
I have a fun fact you're going to love.
Okay.
So the premise of the episode, it's quite ingenious. It's that, okay, while our guys are kind of hanging out there doing stuff, and I'll see Kiva drinking the Mega Slush in this one as you're kind of stopping off after a day of doing stuff. They find that Megas has been towed away and has a boot on it.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm sorry. Actually, I think the boot might come.
The boot is the last episode, the last tag of the episode. Yeah.
The point is, the Megas somehow has been towed.
That's one of the great bits of the humor that we get throughout the series is how Megas, it's like, people just don't bat an eye whatsoever at the existence of Megas.
Yep. How? I must have taken like 8 cranes to take Megas.
Right.
Oh, God. Point is, Megas has been in panic as, Coop, probably illegal. It was parked next to a fire hydrant or something. It was like a no parking sign and/or fire hydrant, one of the two.
The no parking sign was why he got booted, so it was probably the fire hydrant.
One of the two. So Megas is towed and Coop's going to get it. He has a buddy. I like that he has a buddy at the impound line because it makes sense. Coop, a lot of driving violations most likely. He would have a pal there. And he finds out his license is expired, which means he has to go to the DMV. And Coop, much like many of us, and I can attest to this, hates the DMV.
Oh, yeah.
And folks, I got to tell you, very accurate representation of the DMV.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, there's more young people there, but yeah, it's very accurate, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like you said, this episode is probably this show's shining example, at least in season 1, of just doing mundanity, doing it really well. Coop has to go for the driving test. He's in the, and he's in the Magus robot, and yet the driving instructor is treating it like any other test.
Well, no, he's not. He's not in the Magus robot when he's running. It's like, he doesn't have the Magus robot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
Basically, Coop, he throughout the thing, I love this is one of the brilliant things of the show. It's juxtaposed of while Coop and Jamie, it's like a rush. It's a big rush because there's a bounty hunter that seemingly is after Coop. In reality, he's after Kiva. And this bounty hunter, by the way, is voiced by Tia Carrera. Nani, Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Darkalos. I love she's kind of like a Predator-esque bounty hunter, which is pretty cool. Point is, while she's doing battle with Kiva, seemingly over Megas, but actually bring Kiva in so people can find out stuff about the future. Words got around about Kiva, and probably the Glorfus probably spilled the beans on her too. It's a little unclear. Point is, while all that's going on, this urgent action's going on. Like, I got to help my friend. And by the way, the cool thing about this bounty hunter, she is driving, essentially, she's controlling a giant rhinoceros alien of some sort, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, while she's had more of a kind of a mano fight with Kiva, Coop's trying to save the day. He keeps telling the DMV instructor, "Hey, listen, I don't have time for this. I gotta save my friend. I gotta save the world." And then
if we start making exceptions for you, the whole place will fall apart.
And then other wise guys are saying, "I have that too. My friend's in danger from an alien too." And all that stuff's going on. Coop's just driving very recklessly, very impressively, but very recklessly during the test. Eventually, he knocks some sense into the driving instructor as he's driving. He runs into the giant rhinoceros-looking thing. He signs off on the license. And then we have the hilarious reveal that those rhinoceroses have been mind controlled. And then, oh my god, that was very unpleasant. They're very well spoken, kind of Dee Bradley Baker sounding, rhino guys. And I love that the comeuppance for a bad guy is community service.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's not community service. We should mention this now, but we're far into it. The endings of the episodes are hilariously, for the most part, instead of animation, they'll have these stills from the episode, or stills of post the episode that we just hints of what the story would lead to.
Little mini vignettes of where the story could go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and we see Coop getting, they're throwing paper on the ground for her to pick up, and then we see the giant rhino guy on a giant bench just throwing.
Right.
Getting ready to throw something. Okay, so let's see. So following that, again, one of the best episodes against mundanity intercut with some cool action, but again, majority of mundane. Of course, I'm sorry, the best sequence ever in the whole series is in this episode. It's where Coop's fantasizing about the DMV, where he's destroying the DMV in Vegas.
Yes.
He's shooting at it, he's stomping it, he's punching it, and he's just like, again, shows kind of the evil thing that the S-Force is talking about. Okay, let's see. Then we have a few of these next few we can go by pretty fast because there's not a lot to them. We have Dude, Where's My Head, which is Jamie has a date and he borrows the car.
Yeah, my favorite element of this is how Coop attempts to control Magus with the Atari roller.
Yes, and I love
Tiki. You know what the Atari roller is?
And this is what I love, Tiki. Again, I love, I'm a gadget guy. This is another reason I love the show. I love just all the contingencies and all the little extra controls on Megas. If you don't have the head, you can, in theory, drive Megas. Just not as effective. That you can go inside the chest and you have a couch inside the chest.
Okay, if you don't mind, can I give you a little bit of history on this Atari roller thing?
All right, go on.
Okay, so the Atari roller, basically all the Atari games used to come with this little roller ball that was kind of built into the arcade cabinet. So classic examples stuff like Breakout, Asteroids, Centipede, stuff like that. Not necessarily Pac-Man, because Pac-Man was Namco, not Atari. But
well, I'm just saying Pac-Man has a rolly ball too. That's all.
Well, Pac-Man, that's a different thing because there were the cocktail machines of Pac-Man had the rolly ball. That's a different thing.
All right.
Okay. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the point is, the rollerball provided a lot of precise control with Atari arcade games. So when they transitioned that to the Atari 2600, and they had kind of the standard joystick with the one button control, they wanted to reproduce the controller that they had in the arcade cabinets with the rollerball, and thus this controller that we see Coop using is used. And Dragon, I've got to tell you, this thing it's almost Power Glove levels of Infamous for just working like shit. And the way that Coop controls Magus, or the lack of control he has on Magus, is like entirely accurate to how frustrating it would be to actually control one of these things. So I'm sorry, I just really love all the video game culture and kind of like these really deep cut, like, I know exactly what that gadget is and I know exactly what they're making fun of when they're doing this gadget.
Oh, yeah. Again, I love it has like a couch inside Magus where you can control it as like an auxiliary thing. There's a lot of brilliance in there. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Again, we kind of mentioned the gag where it's just like, Coop, when have I not been there for you? And that sort of thing just shows you how good a friend Coop is, the Jamie. It's not exactly all the time reciprocated.
Sure,
also,
sure.
I think we get the evil Magus in this one, like the silver version of Magus that the Glorf came up with. Is that right?
Could be.
I think so. It's like they're trying to
run together for me to tell you the truth, but.
Right. So following that, we get Junk in the Trunk. I don't know why I abbreviated that. Junk in the Trunk, which is I think thanks for this one because you love Goat.
Well, of course, this is the epic introduction of Darlene.
No, Tiki, a little more lovingly, Darlene. There you go. Tiki, it's a beautiful thing. It's not like a Darlene. It's like Darlene.
It's my Darlene.
There you go.
Yeah, this is basically like the Lucky Gets a Robot episode.
The Goat Gets a Robot episode, not Lucky.
Lucky, oh my god. I apologize, folks. I know someone in real life who's a Lucky that looks a lot like this guy, so I apologize if that slip-up comes. No, it's the Goat Gets a Robot episode, like we said, kind of gloriously set up from the first episode of the season, and it's paid off. And of course, Dragon, the big gag is that Goat loves this thing like it's his own freaking daughter. You know what I mean? He's just absolutely in love with it. And yet the thing's a pile of crap. The thing falls apart almost immediately, and it suffers a terrible fate, a tragic fate, and Goat has to part ways with it. And, of course, there's other things happening in the episode, too. They're on this junk planet. They're trying to retrieve some sort of part or something.
Basically, Magus is primed to blow up should they not fix this. Right. I love the ending of the story, how they fix it. Basically, there's this junk dealer called Varnish, the junk dealer, and by the way, voiced by Rob Paulson doing a southern accent.
Nice.
And basically, they're trying to find the replacement part. I believe Varnish finds out this is a very there's the mechs wanted or something. The point is he can basically take Magus and kind of outfit it with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget if he has a time drive or not, but that might be a guy he's also trying to lure him to distract him with or something. Point is, the end of the episode I love because again, basically Magus, if they don't fix this part, Magus is going to a nuclear explosion is going to happen, and Varnish has some sort of similar mech or something, and basically that one blows up because it does not have the part and it kind of takes the plane with it, including Darlene. But I love the solution. I love also how Kiva uses it on Goat. I love that duct tape saves the day. Basically, it's oh no, Coop, the whole thing's gonna blow up, and Coop just goes down very calmly. He has this great little seat that was kind of escalate up and down. Just kind of goes down, and we don't see what he does. And he comes back up. What did you do? He just tosses her some duct tape. We see the part is taped to the rim with duct tape, and it's evened out the power. The fusion core is not going to overload. And Kiva's in astonishment, wow, I underestimated this duct tape. And then we see her having duct taped Goat all up. Says, it's very useful.
Really funny.
Really cute, funny episode. Following that, we got TV Dinner, which is not a bad episode, but the least impressive out of her first season, in my opinion.
This is the one where they get swallowed, right?
Yeah, it's like Coop. Coop tries to fix the satellite. So basically, I love the premise of this one, though. The premise is that Coop's trying to watch something on TV. He's not getting a signal. So his next logic is, okay, I'm going to go up into space. I'm going to adjust the satellite so I can actually get a signal.
Right,
Which
that
is
makes
pretty
sense.
funny. But then they get eaten by this giant thing that feeds on radio waves, which almost eats the planet. And this is the one where it's all Coop's fault. Where it's just, and then this happened. This had no Coop. That was all you. Oh, right.
Which is probably the funniest moment of the episode, I'd say.
Yeah, pretty much uses like pop rocks and soda to defeat it. It's
yeah,
like,
okay, I do like that setup. That's like, again, I'll agree with you, Dragon. This was one of the less memorable episodes of the season for me, but the rocks and soda thing, again, very much kind of a 90s / early 2000s thing. It was definitely an urban legend, that your heart would explode if you ate pop rocks and soda. I definitely
stomach would explode.
Stomach, heart, whatever. I definitely remember that being being kind of a big fixture of playground urban legends even when I was in elementary school, so that kind of brought me back to my childhood in a way.
Well, it's not so much a legend, but
Well, you know what I mean, an old wives' tale, whatever you want to call it.
Anyway, so then we have next episode. We have again. I think there's still some cleverness in it, but it's kind of in the vein of it's not as pointless as TV dinner, but it's Coup d'Iat.
Coup d'Iat, yeah.
Coup d'Iat is the Transformers parody, which instead of the plan from Transformers, it's like Mega. No, not Mega.
Oh fuck! What is it?
God, it's like there's the old.
I don't know.
The old spark.
Oh shit!
I know. We know this.
Cybertron? Is it Cybertron?
It's Cybertron. Thank you, Cybertron. Regardless, sorry, folks, we're not real Transformers fans.
Actually, Dragon, that's kind of like the perfect transition into why we're not as crazy about this episode as other people might be. Simply because we're not Transformers guys. We've never really watched any Transformers at all.
I told you, folks, I was into this show over Transformers. What can I tell you?
Right.
But this show was much cooler than Transformers for me. Again, I'm sure if I really went into Transformers, I might like it. I don't want to get into it. It's too much stuff. Anyway, so we have Azeroth. Azeroth essentially is a planet dominated by fully populated by robots, and have like this grand regal. I mean, I love the absurdity and stuff. I like it better than the one we just talked about. But this one, it's like we have kind of the classic Transformers voice actors. I get what they're going for. I love what they're going for. It's the idea of Coop. Coop accidentally kills one of the kills or wounds the Emperor by some church, like a teleporting thing he's working on, which kind of connects to the finale when you think about it.
Right.
Anyway, in the process of doing that, Coop is then he's like a bounty. Like kind of basically, if you bring me the bot that did this, and you will become the Emperor, or you'll become the great hero. And it's a good premise for him. So everyone's going after Coop, and then we have basically Coop is then kind of celebrated as like the hero in the by some church because like it's revealed he's part of a prophecy or something. Mm-hmm. By the end, and then again, it's really hard to recap this one. It's like it's a Metron, like a Megatron. Is Megatron the bad guy for Transformers? That's Megatron.
Yes, that's
sorry.
Megatron.
I know, folks, embarrassing. I'm sorry. It's all seen the Transformers movies, and you can tell that did not leave good taste.
I don't think the Transformers movies did a great job at all of actually covering the personalities of the Transformers.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've seen a few clips of the animated stuff. That's the old 80s show. I mean, sometimes it looks impressive, sometimes not so much. Point is, it kind of ends with kind of Coop realize because he can make his fist become on fire. He has like a flame fist, and that kind of it fits in with this prophecy thing. Oh my God, he's the savior. Oh my God, we forgive him for everything he's done. Then realize, oh my God, there's a human inside him. After him, and anyways, the point is it's kind of in the end, it's just kind of a pointless episode that Coop just screwed it. Basically,
it's Transformers fan service. That's what it is, and I can appreciate it. If you are a Transformers episode, I bet you'd have a ball. Or if you're a Transformers fan, I bet you'd have a ball with this episode.
Yeah, sorry if I'm not doing it justice, folks. I'm sure Transformers fans like you said, I'm sure Transformers fans love this. I appreciate the cleverness of it. I don't fully. It's not as memorable as the other ones for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the big memorable thing about this episode is just kind of like the Optimus Prime voice actor is back, But,
Peter, Colin, Frank Welk, get all the classics.
Right.
Anyway, and I like, last thing I'll say about it, I do like kind of like the Megatron-esque one is like kind of conspiring against the Emperor. You get a sense of like this guy's kind of these bad news, very much like Megatron.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so it's like kind of like a medieval drama going on, like Game of Thrones before there were Game of Thrones. Well,
Which, from what I understand, I do think Transformers kind of took a cue from some of that stuff.
All right, so then we have the last one of my favorites, personal favorites. We have the driver's seat.
Driver's seat. This was honestly, I was just kind of like running out of time, so I didn't necessarily skim it, but I was getting my set ready while I was watching this, so I'll probably have to rewatch this again a little. I've got to admit.
Yeah, I thought this was a great finale for the first season.
Yeah, really fun stuff. It's, of course, you've got Coop kind of interacting with the main villain for the first time for a long stretch of time, which is probably the crux of the episode. You've got Jamie and Kiva interacting with each other, really kind of forming a bond that I hope is going to go into season 2. I don't know, man. Most of it is kind of action for me, and I kind of phase out when it gets too Michael Bay-ish. And I think I don't know. It's not my favorite episode the way it's one of your favorite episodes, but I respect that you like it so much. Like I said, I'll probably have to go back and rewatch it to kind of get the full context of it.
Yeah, I mean, Driver sees it's a great change of pace. It's like Coop is outside of Megas, and he's face to face with Gorath, and it's the idea of like they communicate with each other, like usually trash talking on screen.
Sure,
actually, Coop has made a big.
No, I'm saying it's the first time they're meeting face to face. Yeah.
Yeah. Now Coop is made a big blunder, so now he's in the possession of our bay. He's up to our side characters, to our sidekicks, to save Coop, and again, through the process, they get to know each other a little bit. They kind of, they bond a little bit to save Coop, and then by the end, they're doing a little. Tiki, do the sign for the folks. Do the whole like the mega sign, would you? The devil, with a little, the hand sign. There you go. Thank you. Like they're doing that with each other. They do the like that. Again, Coop on the Glorf is pretty funny, and I like this. It ends with a kind of a big note that again they kind of defeated the Glorf, and I love in the credits, by the way, that it does like this whole in memoriam, like fun in memoriam of.
Yes, that was great. That was great.
Gorath, I think like the last image, like the two of them in a buddy buddy pose of like saying enemies, like enemies, best enemies for life, like the best friends of enemies for life. And I thought it was so hilarious, but. Again, there's some great moments in this, but one of my favorite moments. I'm going to save it for when we get the kind of moments and scenes. Point is, I think it's a solid ending. It's kind of changing pace. It's kind of circling back to the pile of we saw how our guys were the first time they were kind of facing the Glorf, and now we're kind of seeing them kind of for the most part defeating them until they reemerge in season 2, which they kind of have to because a lot of people.
Of course.
Anyway, so point is, it's a fun little ender episode.
Okay. All right, so really quick, Dragon, I feel like we're kind of, we need to speed this up. If we
we're almost done tonight,
but so. Yeah, so let's kind of go quickly over the running gags. Of course, one of the most prominent and one of the most biting and satirical is a certain channel that bears a striking resemblance to a certain television that plays a lot of music, or at least MTV gets blown up a lot in the show.
Basically,
MTV gets blown up a lot.
Well, remember, it's not MTV, it's Pop.
No,
TV.
of course. But I love how the pop is kind of vaguely in the shape of an
See, MTV canned their shows a lot in the past. That's why.
Of course. Yeah. That, I think, is the funniest running gag. It's in almost every episode.
And remember, it defeated the Glorf the first time. It's the satellite landed on a giant kind of doomsday machines.
I feel like I need to rewatch the season because there's just so many sign gags. I feel like that's one of the big strengths of the humor is kind of the blink and you miss it freeze frame gags that we get from just like text in the episode.
Yeah, you also get like a lot of gags of like just kind of randomly saying unoccupied building or like buildings.
Sure,
like, it makes fun of it shows you that no one dies, but they make hilarious fun of the fact that no one's in these buildings.
Exactly.
Just for plot convenience's sake, no one's in these buildings. At least they're addressing it though. Again, Zack Snyder really should take notes.
Oh God. Of course, we have the Coop kind of going on a rant at the end of every episode with, like, they did this, and they did this, but they also did this, and that really ticks me off.
And they do a speed racer thing when they do it through, like, the background's kind of moving behind them. All right, you listen to me, you scum-sucking alien. First you do this, then you do that, and now you're doing this? I don't think so.
Anyway, also, the overly impressed kid.
Yep, we have the fantasy gags, like when we just go into like Jamie's fantasy or Coop's fantasy. destroying New Jersey on a regular basis to quote-unquote save it.
Yes. Oh, God.
There are a lot of new special foods, like kind of the coveted food item of the episode, like of course, the Mega Slush, or my favorite, the pizza wrapped ham.
I really like how, especially towards the end of the season, they start really poking fun at the fact that there's essentially a Deus Ex Machina that comes at the 18-minute point of every episode.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I want to point that out in my favorite moments, but yeah.
Yeah, let's see. So there's some classic anime references again, kind of like kind of Voltron and.
Oh yeah. I think, and it just like I think it's kind of goes two ways. Like it both kind of directly parody stuff like Transformers and Voltron and Power Rangers and stuff like that, but it also kind of is just like a loving homage to just the style in the first place. You know, the genre of giant mech animation.
Yeah, I mean the S Force the show has great music. Of course, the theme song is one of the best theme songs ever.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but
I'm saying it's a really good theme song. Come on,
it's fine for what it is. It represents the show well. I'm not going to say it's one of the best theme songs ever.
It's catchy. It's really catchy.
Still not going to say it's one of the best.
Fine. Will you at least say it's good? Is it good at least?
There's a lot. Yes, it's good. It's very good. I'm just saying there's a lot of good theme songs.
Just give me something when I'm in there. You're deflating my voice. Give me something good.
It's not Steven Universe. It's not the Steven
Universe. I know
Universe.
It's not. Did I say Steven Universe? Did at any point I say, hey, Greg Universe should eat it? Did I at all say that?
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, so cookie cats aside. So again, I love the point is I also with the music aside from the intro we're having debates upon. I love the S Force theme. Like they have the good classical orchestral things like they're making fun of it. Like it's real fun.
I feel like there's a running gag of Jamie kind of like pulling Coop out of his fantasies because there's something serious about to go down.
Yep. We got the simple solutions for.
Oh, I just said, like, the line's usually Jamie just being like, Coop?
Yep, we have kind of simple solutions or dumb luck saving the day.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all I kind of got for running games. You got anything else in particular you want to mention?
No, not really. Not necessarily.
Again, we'll might bring up a few more in Season 2, but that's all for now. Anyway, so favorite moments and scenes.
Okay, honestly, Dragon, we listed out, like, quite a lot of my favorites, so I'm just going to mention two really quick. I already said it, but I just really love the way that Goat gets his robot, how it's built up from the pilot episode of the series, and you're just kind of like, oh, it really would be awesome to see that guy pilot a robot. And then we see it, and the result is kind of like a mix of tragic and hysterical at the same time. Really, really good payoff to that story arc. Love the character in general, and just really love the pathos of Darlene.
Yes, Darlene.
Just really great moment there. And of course, Dragon, you already mentioned it. By far the biggest just kind of laugh out loud belly laugh that I got in the whole series and the whole season was the 5 minutes before the end of the episode button. Like that was like, I'm like, yes, okay, this show is like basically the brilliant thing about the humor in this show is they essentially call themselves on their own shit, right? Like, they essentially call themselves on any plot holes, anything that you might be able to nitpick. They're like, yeah, we know. We just don't care. And I love that. I fucking love that attitude that this show has.
Oh, yeah, real quick. Because, we talked about it a lot. So, I love the kind of the DMV mundanity intercut with the action. Specifically, I love the fantasy sequence from the DMV episode. I love the eating contest was good. The quest for the Mega Slush, the Noble Pursuit, that is. It's pretty awesome. Yeah. I love I love Coop's interrogation on the Glorf ship. I love that. Where again, he's being interrogated by, again, it's, Goraf's interrogating him, and Coop's making fun of him throughout the whole thing. It just shows you what a good character Coop is. It's, Goraf saying, I have never been defeated. Really? Have you not been in the battles? Who's won? Me. He's just making fun of him. And again, this character's taking himself so seriously mixed with kind of our fun-loving guy. It just shows you who wins at the end of the day between those two. And he's also, the way he threatens him, like with the Philly cheesesteak, and when he crushes, no! And you call yourselves human, which I think is a Star Wars references, by the way.
It could be.
It's basically when Leia says, and you call yourselves so. Like, you think you're human or something along those lines.
Right. Yeah.
And then basically, I love that's in his big speech at the end, like you have no respect for Philly cheesesteaks. He's like so mad over the Philly cheesesteak, and also
hey man, you got to respect the steak. That's a serious issue.
That's going to come back. By the way, Cooper loves Philly cheesesteaks.
Okay.
And also, Goraz is taking a bite and says, but he hates Philly cheesesteaks. And the moment I literally had to watch before going on, because I love this moment from this season. I love when the red muscle car is on the Glorf ship, and they have this great music playing. This great travel music is playing as Kiva and Jamie coming for the rescue. As Coop is in the car, and they're driving around inside the giant mothership of the Glorf. I just think it's so freaking cool. I really do.
Oh yeah.
It just gets me in a mood like, oh, this is why I love the show. People driving around in a car in a giant alien mothership. That's awesome. Again, super catchy theme song and opening. And again, I love a lot of the modifications on Megas and the gadgetry, like the Jammer. The Jammer's like this giant karaoke system where that's how he defeated Magnanimous. His lady is singing, I love it. It's shattering everything. It's this giant sound system with a disco ball. And the manual control back, it's pretty Dance Revolution manual controls. And like others, like the Flame Sword, a bunch of the teleporting beam, a lot of fun little modifications that usually don't pan out well.
Also, really quick, just another favorite moment I had. I kind of already went into, but I love how the Atari rollerball works, and how like when Coop tries to control Megas with it, it works basically exactly how a real Atari rollerball would function.
It's kind of a shame. I think had they gone on for another season, they would have done a Power Glove gag. Unfortunately, no.
Oh my god! Oh, that would have been the fucking best thing ever.
I'll bet you they would have tried it, though. I'll bet you they would have tried it.
Okay. So on that note, Dragon.
That's all the moments I really got.
Okay, so let's get to final thoughts then. What do you got?
Well, for final thoughts, as I kind of said it before, the show means a great deal to me. I think it's one of Toonami's finest. Again, I'm thinking Dragon Ball, I'm thinking Megas XLR, because I just remember like it being nighttime and I'm watching this show. I'm just having a ball. It's fun. It's out there. You don't really see a lot of it. It had cool action, had a lot of clever comedy. It holds up greatly with the clever comedy and like all the meta gags you maybe didn't catch in your younger years. I think it's one. Season 1 to me, out of the two, and we'll get to 2 at some point. I don't know when. Season 1 to me,
sometime, but
maybe. Point is, season 1, I think, out of the two of them, is more iconic and it's really iconic because I think these episodes really are like great standalone episode adventures. They kind of they really get you into the show. They really kind of get you hooked on the show because they're really funny and out there. It's memorable. It's iconic and it's memorable adventures over mundane reasons. That's all I need from the show. It's so enjoyable. I could watch it many times.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely am glad you introduced this to me. I think it was kind of. I'm not really sure how much you realized that it kind of tied back into the roots of our connection with each other through Cartoon to Cartoon Fridays and all that. But I do think that it's a neat little way to kind of celebrate how we've been working together so long. And like I said, it's like I very much do wish that I would have caught this show as a teenager because I think I would have really liked it. This is a show where. It's a show where there are flaws in it. There's definitely flaws in it for me, but the thing is, Dragon, the thing that makes the show great is, like I said, Dragon, each time the show has a flaw, the show in itself comes along. It's like, yep, I acknowledge that I have that flaw. I just don't give a shit because this is essentially like a show where, anything goes and the writing is just so on point to be like, yeah, there's silly stuff that happens in this universe. That's kind of the point. So
it's a crime this show did not get any toys, by the way, because I would have bought the heck out of the toys.
Or a video game or something.
Everyone demands the video game because all the old video game times. If there's anything that's going to be made into a video game, it's going to be this show. But unfortunately,
right. Okay, so we will see you guys probably. Don't want to make like a guaranteed set in stone promise, but probably sometime next week we'll be going over season 2. And Dragon, do you have any particular memorable quotes you'd want to lead us out on?
Pet monkey thing?
All right, and on that note, have a good night, folks. Do not ingest any soda with Pop Rocks. I repeat, do not ingest any soda with Pop Rocks.